Hey everyone, so we're going to be finishing up our form today and then we're going to get on into building out the rest of the app. So just to finish off this basic login form and sign up pattern, before going into other pages like forgot password and so on, which we will add later on as part of an advanced login pattern, I just want to cross the T's and dot the I's a little bit on this login. These are lacking an icon, which will be very nice, clearly. Maybe we could add colors. I'm going to leave that out for now. We are going to come back and improve the visuals at a later date. But let's just finish off what is the functional piece. Let's add a quick icons here and let's add an error message example. So if we handed this over to our devs, they would know how to handle an error. So let's first of all grab some icons. Now to do that, we need to add some icons to our icon set. Now we have an icon set, which we're using Lucid, so we haven't documented those because they're in Lucid. But if we have custom icons, we're going to have to add them to our sets generally. So you don't want to add them loose. You want to create components from them too, so that they can be swapped out in other instances. So first of all, we've got to grab some icons. Now you can go to these manage plugins and you can search for logos. Some are not free, some are free. Some are not so good in the fact they don't give you square options or they're not vectorized well. But the one I found that worked for me is this brand's logo. And if I just search for Google, we get quite a few here options. I'm going to go for this G. Okay. See how it's square, 32 by 32. That's always helpful to include. If we're going to include it in a button, we get similar, well, the same padding around the outside. So this is quite important. Now I'm going to name it so that I can always reference it. I'm going to just icon Google. I mean, it could be more specific here by saying Google G or something. We could make it black. Let's just create a component for now so that we've got that now referenced. And we need another one. We had GitHub. So let's see if I can get GitHub from here. Okay, we want this one. This one's already black, so it's quite simple. I'm going to do the same here. I'm going to give it a name, icon.github. I'm going to create also 32 by 32. So this is a good library. Right? So now I've got the start of my custom library here. I think I'm tempted. You know what I might do? I'm just going to not duplicate. I might actually create a variant here and remove these colors and use our text color. Actually, I'll use the accent. When I say text color, I mean the accent color. I just don't really want this colorful version necessarily because I want to keep while we're building out our design system, I want to keep it very simple and out of the visual design weeds necessarily, and we're just going to focus on functionality. So, okay, now we have an icon, which is, it's still a Google icon. Oops, Google G. But now, let's variant. This one is color. And this one is going to be black. I just call it black. Could call it dark or whatever. Let's just call this one variant. I can't think of a better word right now. Just in case I want both of those, right? So I'm going to create a component with a couple of variations. This one's already in black. So I think we're good to go. Let's go back to our login form, not the prototype, as we say. Now, if we drill down to our button, if you remember, inside we have our pip, and we can just expose the left icon. You can't see it because by default it is using the standard color icon default. Now we have to change that for the text contrast, and we're going to have to change this to our Google icon, which we can search for. It's not in the icons. Here it is. Now we want that one, but we don't want the color version, we want the black. Actually, we don't want the black in this instance, so we're going to have to change this to color text contrast. So these are the tweaks you're going to have to make. Let's do the same. Drill down to the pip, add the left icon, swap the icon, change the color. This one is a GitHub. Yes, they had the GitHub icon here, and they have a GitLab too, and a few others, but let's get the one we grabbed so it's similar style. It's black here, which is no good. We need that to be our text contrast. Okay, now we've got our logos, and now let's just add an error state for our field, just so the devs know how to handle it. So here's our field. This is the default state, for example. Right, let's start our documentation. Field, and we'll even tidy all this up later, like I say. But for now, oops, let's zoom into 100%, and let's do a variant, sorry. And this one is error. Call that state, and we're going to do an example error state, right? So in here, what we're going to want is our helper text. Let me just set this to auto layout with some padding, just so it keeps it tidy, and we'll add a little bit of a gap too, just to keep it tidy. So this is default. This one is error. Okay. And in the error, we're going to change the color to our color negative base. We could just leave it like this. We could do it like this. And the other possibility, generally, is that we could show the right icon, okay, from our pip. So this gives us that possibility. This must be fill in order for that to be pushed to the edge. And this, we should give it the warning signal or our error state. Let's use this one for now. We should standardize these, of course, as part of the design system. Let's give it the color negative too, and we could even add the border. You don't have to do all of these necessarily. I'm just giving examples. You might even add the label. Let's just, well, maybe that's over the top. It depends on your taste. But here for our wireframey setup, this is good to go. Now, why do we add this icon? Because for accessibility, you can't simply use color. For colorblind people, we need to make sure that any kind of error state is discernible, and color sometimes is not good enough. So we must always add an icon. Okay, there's a little bit of validation pattern. Let's go back and add it to our form. We could add it here as an example. Now, it's exposed our helper text because when we updated the field, we showed it. So we'd have to go back here actually to hide it by default. And you see how it's set to true. Here, I can change that and set it to false, and then I'll have to switch it on, which is the correct way. I'll have to switch it on again. There we go. Inside the field, right? And also inside the field, we can change now to an error. So, for example, we got the password wrong here, and you might say, password does not match, just for example, right? Now, because of the helper, the padding has got a little bit close or tight here, and we've set it to 8. Actually, this is not a variable. Variables use a kind of a background, like they're inside this box. So you must always be careful here. So 18 looks like it's pretty tight. What if we apply, 8. What if we apply space and medium? And there we get a little bit more padding out. It just depends on the overall flavor now. You should manage that. It's an overall level. I think that's pretty large actually, and I want to keep it tighter. This is an enterprise design system, so we need to consider space. Space is often at a premium in enterprise apps. Okay, so for example, this is just an example. Now I think our login form is in a good state, and I think it's time for us to jump into getting into our app actually and start building that out. Let's get on to it.